Light Yagami survive your favorite horror killers? He's a mass murderer who can kill anyone just by writing their name, but how much does it really help him when he goes up against someone that can be shot multiple times and get up like it's nothing? Or when he's up against a haunted doll that just won't die? Or even the monster that'll leave Light in such a disturbing state that it made me contemplate making this video. First up is Ghostface. You know the drill, some angry person puts on a Halloween costume and starts stabbing people while making creepy phone calls. Against most people, pretty scary. Against Light Yagami, dead in under a minute. See, Light's whole thing is finding out people's real name and faces. Ghostface always has someone behind the mask. A high school student, a film director, whoever. Light would just need to figure out who's wearing the costume this time, some Scooby-Doo stuff. And Light is scary good at detective work. This dude went toe-to-toe with L, the world's greatest detective. Finding out which angry teen is running around with a knife would be like day one stuff for him. He would track down FBI agents with barely any information. A college kid with mommy issues and a voice changer? Please, this is simple work. The real question isn't if Light would catch Ghostface, it's how fast. Would he set up cameras around town? Probably. Would he use the police database his dad has access to? Definitely. I don't know why he wouldn't. Would he manipulate someone like Misa to use her Shinigami eyes to see the killer's real name floating above their head? If he had to? Yeah, he would. Once he sees their face and learns their name, it's a heart attack. Game over. We didn't need these sequels anyways. The funniest part is most Scream movies, they spend the whole time trying to figure out who the killer is. Light would solve the mystery before the first commercial break. Next on Light's hit list is Jigsaw, also known as John Kramer, if we're using his real name, which Light absolutely would be. John Kramer is just a dude with cancer who decided the best therapy was making elaborate death traps. Sure, he's smart, but compared to Light, it's like watching a kindergartner play chess against a grandmaster. The best part is Jigsaw's identity isn't even a secret. His name and face are all over the news in his movies. Light wouldn't even need to do any detective work. He'd just write down John Kramer in the Death Note, and boom. The Saw franchise is just one movie. Just like the Scream movies, this would be way better off. We didn't need all this. No weird pig mask, no bathroom scene, no I want to play a game. Just a guy clutching his chest and falling over. Even if Light ended up in one of Jigsaw's traps, video on that? He'd probably solve it in record time. This is the guy who aced his college entrance exam while also running a global killing spree. A reverse bear trap? He'd have that off in seconds. But what about his apprentices? Nope. Light would notice the pattern continue and hunt them down one by one. You think Light's playing around? He'll kill anyone around him to get his way. You think he'd hesitate to kill some random Jigsaw fanboys? The thing about Jigsaw is he thinks he's teaching people a lesson. Light thinks he's cleaning up the world. One is playing a game, the other's fighting a war. And in this case, Jigsaw brought his knife to a nuke fight. But Chucky is where things get a little bit tricky. Not because he's tough to beat, but because he's a doll. A doll with a serial killer's soul inside, but still technically just a toy. Here's the thing though, Charles Lee Ray used voodoo to put his human soul in that good guy doll. The Death Note kills humans, so does it work on a human soul in a doll body? I think so. I don't know. Light writes Charles Lee Ray while picturing the creepy doll, and we get to watch the toy have a heart attack. Now that I think about it, it would be pretty funny. Imagine a plastic doll clutching its chest and falling over mid-stabbing spree. Hi, I'm Chucky, wanna play? And then he just dies. But let's say for some reason the Death Note doesn't work. Maybe the rules say the soul has to be in a human body. Even then, Light would have options. He's not just the guy with a magic notebook. He's also valedictorian level smart. Even if the Death Note doesn't work for some reason, Light would just pick the doll up and throw it in an incinerator. What's Chucky gonna do? He's like 2 feet tall. Light could literally drop kick him across the room. Chucky's whole thing is sneaking up on people who don't know he's alive. Once you know the doll's a killer, he loses his 90% advantage. And if Chucky tried to do the soul transfer thing, Light would see it coming from a mile away. He'd write down specific instructions in the Death Note for whoever Chucky was trying to possess. Dies of a heart attack before completing any voodoo rituals. Problem is solved. The bottom line with these three is simple. They're just people, and people are exactly what the Death Note was made to kill. Light wouldn't even break a sweat. He'd kill hundreds of criminals with his notebook. A few more horror movie villains wouldn't even make his top 10 list. But what happens when Light goes up against something that isn't quite human? Now we're getting to the good stuff. The killers who just don't know when to quit: Michael Myers, Jason Voorhees, and Art the Clown. I call these guys the Resurrectors because they resurrect. I don't know. What do you want from me? They're like the subscription you keep trying to cancel but somehow still charge your card every month. Let's start with Michael Myers, everyone's favorite shape. This dude has been shot, stabbed, set on fire, thrown out a window, you name it. And he'll still keep coming back for more Halloween sequels. He's been in so many timelines, even he probably doesn't know which one he's in anymore. Here's where Light runs into his first problem. The Death Note has this rule: the human whose name is written in the note shall die. Sounds pretty simple, right? But there's another rule that says once dead, they can never come back to life. Michael Myers laughs at the second rule. Dying is basically his cardio workout. So Light would do the obvious thing first, write Michael Myers down. He would wait for the heart attack. Michael would drop, Light would dust off his hands, and then Michael would sit right back up. You'd have to see Light's face in that moment. All the smug confidence draining as he realizes his magic murder book has limits. But I wrote the name. You're supposed to be dead. The thing is, Michael Myers isn't just a guy in a mask like Ghostface. He's something else. The movies can't decide what he is. Sometimes he's just a very tough mental patient. Other times he's straight up supernatural. Halloween Kills had him take an entire mob and win. The dude's pushing 70 and still has abs of steel. I'm wishing I could be like that. And let's talk about Michael's mask for a second. He has a weird attachment to it. In multiple movies, he stopped mid-kill just to retrieve his mask when it gets knocked off. That's a weakness Light could exploit. Imagine Light setting up a trap with Michael's mask as bait. Except the cat is a 6-foot-tall killing machine. Not much has changed. Light would have to get creative. Really creative. No more right name, person dies shortcuts. He'd really have to use his brain for this one. He might try to write something specific like Michael Myers gets trapped in an inescapable prison, or Michael Myers walks into the ocean and doesn't return. But even that may not work because we already know Michael is above the Death Note's powers. What's extra funny is Light would probably try multiple variations on the Death Note. Michael Myers, nothing. Michael Audrey Myers, still nothing. The Shape, nope. He'd get increasingly frustrated, writing more and more elaborate deaths. Michael Myers trips, falls into a wood chipper, is ground into pieces, which are then individually set on fire and ashes are scattered across different oceans. Michael would show up on his doorstep the next day. Nope, wrong Michael. More likely, Light would have to do what Laurie Strode has been trying to do for decades. Set a trap, use his smarts to lure Michael somewhere and contain him permanently. Maybe concrete him into a wall or drop him down an abandoned mine shaft. Not killing, but you have to contain this guy. But even then, we all know what happens when you think you've trapped Michael Myers. Fast forward a few years and some idiot decides to check on the body or move it or whatever. You know horror movie logic. After this happens, he's right back to stabby time. Light would probably end up doing what the Halloween franchise did, making multiple attempts to end Michael, each one supposedly being the final chapter, only for him to keep coming back. It's like trying to kill a cockroach. No matter how many times you step on it, there's always another one. The really interesting part is how it would affect Light psychologically. His whole identity is built around being this all-powerful god of death. Beating someone who can't be killed would shatter that self-image. Would he eventually give up? Or would he end up like Dr. Loomis, spending his life trying to keep the boogeyman contained? Next up is Jason, the hockey mask enthusiast with mommy issues. If Light thought Michael was a problem, Jason is Michael with extra steps. For starters, Jason is explicitly a zombie by part 6 of his franchise. Not maybe supernatural like Michael, straight up undead. The guy was resurrected by a lightning bolt. That's zombie 101. The Death Note might not even register Jason as a human anymore. He's more like a walking corpse with a machete fetish. Light would write Jason Voorhees all day long, and Jason would just keep going, making that ch sounds while Light frantically flips through the notebook rules looking for a loophole. And here's where I think Light would get really desperate. He might try writing Pamela Voorhees in the Death Note, thinking he could kill Jason's mom and that would somehow affect Jason. But oops, she's already dead. Has been since the first movie. That's a wasted page on your notebook, buddy. Jason also has the distinction of having actually gone to hell and coming back. Like literally. Look, yeah. If the afterlife can't keep Jason down, what chance does a notebook have? Light's best bet with Jason would be to exploit his weaknesses. Jason has a weird thing with water sometimes, you know, because he's a kid. Light could use that. Or he could play the Tommy Jarvis card and try to make Jason think he's seeing his mom. But let's be real, Light's not exactly the get your hands dirty type. He likes to kill from a distance, all clean and neat. Jason would force him into a messy world of physical confrontation, and that's just not Light's style. He'd need to use pawns, manipulate others into helping him. I can just picture Light trying to process the Jason situation. Wow, I can't talk. I can just see Light trying to process the Jason situation. So he was a boy who drowned, then wasn't actually dead, then died for real, and then came back as a zombie, then became a body-hopping demon, then got his original body back, and I'm supposed to kill this thing with a notebook. No. The hilarious part is Light might actually try to team up with other slasher villains to take down Jason. Hey Michael, this guy's on your turf. Wanna help me drop him to the bottom of Crystal Lake? A slasher villain battle royale, if you will. All orchestrated by Light from a safe distance. I mean, we already have Freddy versus Jason. It's not the craziest thing. Or maybe Light would try to be clever and write Jason Voorhees reveal his face on national television, hoping without the hockey mask Jason would lose his power. But knowing Jason's luck, the TV broadcast would just create more Jason fanboys ready to resurrect him if he ever does stay down. One of Light's biggest problems with Jason would be lack of information. Light relies on knowing his victims, their names, their face, their patterns. Jason is a mystery wrapped in a hockey mask. No clever motives beyond kill camp counselors, no master plan, just machete time. How do you outwit someone with no real wits to begin with? And then there's Art the Clown from Terrifier. This guy makes Pennywise look like Ronald McDonald. Art takes joy in death, both causing it and experiencing it himself. He literally shot himself in the head with a smile and came back stronger. Art shows you a really unique problem. He's just extremely unpredictable. Michael and Jason at least have patterns. Art is chaos in clown makeup. Art's a psychopath. He'd probably just eat the page with his name on it and Light would freak out. The Death Note works by giving people heart attacks, unless specified otherwise. But can you have a heart attack if you don't seem to have a functioning functioning human heart? Art regenerates from being completely destroyed. That's not human, that's something else entirely. And here's the real kicker with Art. We don't even know his real name. Art the Clown is just what everyone calls him. For all we know, his real name could be like Bartholomew Higgins or, I don't know, something. And Light would never figure it out. The Death Note needs a real name, and Art is keeping his secret. Light would be totally out of his element with Art. This isn't a criminal he can judge from afar. This is a demon in face paint who would find Light's whole I am justice routine hilarious. Art would probably mime writing in a notebook while laughing silently just to mock Light. The one advantage Light has is Art does seem to have psychological weaknesses. He hates being called a mime, for one thing. Light could potentially use that, luring Art into a trap by playing on his ego and insecurities, but it would risk getting close enough to taunt Art. It's basically a suicide. What's especially terrifying about Art is he seems to like being killed. It's like part of his game, so even if the Death Note did work on him temporarily, you'd just have Art coming back more excited than ever to find a person who can kill him in a new interesting way. Light would essentially be making himself Art's new favorite playmate. Light might try to contain Art physically, maybe in some kind of supernatural trap, but Art shows the ability to basically teleport between scenes in his movie. He's there, then he's not, then he's behind you with a hacksaw. Light relies on logical plans, but Art defies every single thing of logic ever to exist. But if you think the Resurrectors are bad, wait till we get to things that were never human to begin with. Now we've reached the final boss level, the Xenomorph, Pennywise, and Freddy Krueger. These all represent threats that exist outside the Death Note's jurisdiction. Let's start out with the Xenomorph, you know, those black, slimy aliens with the extra mouth inside their main mouth, acid for blood, and not big on conversation. The Death Note has one very clear rule: it only works on humans, and the Xenomorph is not just not a human, it's also not even from Earth. Light might as well try writing my neighbor's goldfish in the notebook and expect results. This is where Light experiences something totally new: complete and utter helplessness. His magical murder notebook, useless. His careful planning and everything just feels like it went for nothing. The funniest part would be watching Light try it anyways. He'd write Xenomorph in the Death Note, wait 40 seconds, and then have this moment of drawing horror when he realizes he's just a regular dude, about to be an alien's lunch. But wait, Light would think. Oh wait, I'm super smart. I can outthink this thing. If you've played any of the games, or you've watched any of the movies, you know he's dead wrong. The problem is Light isn't Ripley. He's not a space trucker hardened by years of manual labor. He's a high school student who never had to physically fight for his life. His idea of exercise is dramatically writing names in his notebook while eating potato chips. I can just picture Light trying to explain the situation to Ryuk. The Death Note doesn't work on it. Well, duh, it's an alien. Why didn't you tell me there's limits? You never asked. This is hilarious, by the way. Light has to get his hands dirty for once, and last time he tried to do that, it didn't work very well. No more killing from the comfort of his bedroom. He'd need to make flamethrowers, set up tripwires, and create diversions, all while being hunted by something that can smell his fear through the walls. It would be like Home Alone, but with actual life or death stakes, and an alien instead of Joe Pisecki. And Light would hate every second of it because it's messy, unpredictable, and completely outside of his control. But at least the Xenomorph is a physical threat that follows some rule of nature. Pennywise, that's a whole nother level of impossible. Pennywise the Dancing Clown from Stephen King's It isn't just a monster. It's a cosmic entity that existed since the beginning of time. Its true form isn't even comprehensible to the human mind. Appearing as floating lights that drive people insane, the clown is just a mask it wears, because it knows we're afraid of clowns. At least I am. And don't lie, you are too. Light would be completely out of his depth. This isn't a criminal, a slasher, or even an alien. This is an eldritch horror from beyond space and time that feeds on fear itself. Light's usual approach is useless. The Death Note might as well be toilet paper. His intelligence, helpful, but not enough against something that can literally make your worst nightmares come to life. The irony is that Pennywise's main weakness is belief and courage. The Losers Club defeated it by essentially not being afraid and believing that it could hurt them. Light's whole thing is belief. He believes he's creating a better world, that he's a god of justice, but it's a selfish, fear-based belief. He's afraid of crime, disorder, and losing control. Pennywise would smell that fear from a mile away and use it against him. Imagine Pennywise appearing to Light as L, his greatest rival, or as his father, disappointed in what he's become. Or maybe as all the criminals he's killed, returning for revenge. Light's mind would be a buffet of fear for Pennywise to feast on. The only slim chance Light would have is if he somehow convinced himself truly and completely that he was righteous and fearless. But that's a little hard to do when a clown is showing you deadlights of oblivion. And you might be saying, oh, but a bunch of little kids beat it in a fight. Yeah, I get what you're saying, but those kids didn't have as much on their mental as Light does. They haven't killed thousands of people. They've had some childhood trauma that the clown fears upon. But Light, in comparison, Pennywise could spawn like thousands of people that Light's killed and have them all start surrounding him and following him. I feel like that's a lot more disturbing than what a lot of these It characters had to actually go against. And then there's Freddy Krueger, the Dream dream demon with the burned face and the knife fingers. Freddy presents an interesting middle case. He was a human once, but he was transformed into a dream entity after death. The death note might actually work on Freddy in theory, if Light could write Fred Krueger, and somehow specify that affects his dream form. But there's a catch, the death note can't make people do impossible things. Killing a dream demon with a heart attack might fall under impossible. The bigger problem is that Freddy attacks in dreams. He doesn't need to confront you physically. Light would go to sleep and suddenly he's in Freddy's world, where Freddy makes the rules. Light's one advantage here would be his incredible mental discipline. This guy who planned years ahead for every contingency. His mind is his weapon, and in a dream world, that could actually give him a lot of power. But Freddy has been killing people in dreams for decades. He has the home field advantage, he's the referee, and the opposing team all in one. He would turn Light's own mind against him. I can picture Freddy taunting Light, maybe creating a dream version of the death note that doesn't work, or showing Light all the people he's killed coming back for revenge. Kinda like what I said with Pennywise. You think you're a god of death, kid? I'm the real thing. Light's best bet would be to stay awake, something he's had practice with during his cat and mouse game with Elle. He'd down coffee, take stimulants, pinch himself, whatever it takes to avoid falling asleep. But nobody can stay awake forever. Eventually, Light would slip into sleep, and then it's game over. Unless Light might try to pull a Nightmare on Elm Street 3 and bring Freddy into the real world. If he could somehow grab Freddy while waking up, drag him into reality, then Freddy would be vulnerable. In the real world, Freddy can be hurt, and he can be killed, temporarily at least. Then Light could try the death note on physical Freddy, write his name, watch him have a heart attack, and hope that sends him to whatever hell's dream demons go to when they die. But that's a massive if. Light would need to know the trick of pulling Freddy into reality first, and he'd need to survive long enough in the dream to execute it. Freddy doesn't usually give victims that much time. But in the end, the question isn't if Light could defeat these impossible entities. He almost certainly couldn't. The question is whether the experience would change him. Would facing truly unkillable forces make him reconsider his role as Kira? Would it make him more humble, more cautious? Or would it just drive him to seek even greater power? So most of these Light would probably get his stuff rocked, but some of them he stands a chance. And if you enjoyed this video, make sure you like, subscribe, turn on the notifications, all that, and click the video on screen right now, because if you like this one, you're gonna like that one too.